Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Roscoe's recap, and this viewing party was for season 17 episode 13, and the guests for this week were Sapphira Cristal and Hollywood Star. So today we're going to be talking about the potential conspiracy theory as to why Jules Sparkles did not do the reveal on the runway. Sapphira Cristal reveals why she was heartbroken after Drag Race. And Mistress Isabel Brooks and Dawn apparently faked their previous drama. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. So they started off by talking about the makeover challenges in general because that was the Maxi challenge this week. Host Caramel mistakenly said that Sapphira won the makeover challenge on her season, but Sapphira said no, she actually, quote, lost harder than anyone's ever lost. Hollywood also said she lost the makeover challenge on her season 2, which was Drag Race Down Under season 3. And Caramel joked that was why both of them were booked together at Roscoe's this week. Naysha clarified that on Sapphira's season, their makeover partners were dancers from the Drag Race live show in Las Vegas. And on Hollywood's season, they had to make over dogs and their owners. Hollywood said that the challenge was, quote, so emotional for me because they assigned her the same type of dog that she has at home, and Hollywood missed her dog so much, so, quote, they were literally setting me up. I was like, I know what you guys are doing. Hollywood also said that the makeover challenge is the challenge where they can just, quote, cater to anything they want, as in, the judges are not always consistent in their critiques. And Hollywood said on her season, she got the critique that she and her makeover partner's hair was not the same colour, so there was no family resemblance. But she said in real life, siblings don't always have the same hair colour, so she said, quote, this challenge can go any way they want to. They then asked the queens, when emotions are high on Drag Race, what keeps you pushing through the race? Sapphira says she does this thing every morning and night when she hugs herself and says, quote, I truly love and accept myself. Sapphira also got her friends to write letters for her, which she took to Drag Race, and then when she had a bad day during filming, she would keep the letters in her pocket and read them because it would make her feel better. And she said another queen told her that tip, but she didn't say which queen it was. Sapphira also joked that she didn't feel bad that often during filming her season because she did so well. But when she got in her head, it can feel like the show is out to get you, but then she realised they're not out to get you at all, it's all in your head. And the moment she realised this was when she chose to drink the immunity potion. Sapphira said that if you could have seen the judges' faces, because apparently all of the judges were totally confused when she said she wanted to use the immunity potion, and it made her realise that it was all in her head. They then watched more of the episode, and the Queen's mothers and fathers were the makeover partners this week. Naysha said one thing she thinks is really important that we saw is the relationship between Susie Toot and her mother. Naysha said that not everyone's relationship is the same, but what's important is that her mother showed up and, quote, they'll definitely get there, maybe, and if not, it's okay. But Naysha continued and said it's important to see that not every relationship is like best friends because it's not always like that. Sapphira said she's best friends with her mother, but her mother and grandmother have a different relationship, a bit like Susie and her mother, and even though they're close, Sapphira's grandmother is a bit more reserved. But when you have a queer child, you want to, quote, meet them where they are, but not everyone is like that, and Susie's mother seems to be very shy and a reserved person, and that's okay because she still showed up. Sapphira then joked and said, quote, if I was Susie, I would have been like, send someone else, because I love you, goodbye, get my dad, get my sister, get someone else, cause this one ain't it. We need someone with some personality. I love my mama, but not this one, not for this. And Hollywood agreed. Naysha then said that the fathers seem to be having a good time. Sapphira then said, quote, I mean, every other parent is loving it if we're being honest. Sapphira then referred to when Lexi pulled her mother's face back with tape to give her an instant facelift, and she joked that her mother was loving it and was like, quote, B-word, how long have you known about this? Then Sapphira joked and said, quote, well, if you weren't calling me he the whole time, I would have told you about it, and they all laughed. Naysha then joked about Sam Star's mother's, quote, stank look that she was giving the other parents. Hollywood said that she was, quote, intimidating them, she was getting in their heads. And Naysha joked that now we've seen Sam's mother, everything about Sam makes sense. They then went through the makeover runways for this week, and whether they toot or boot the looks. When they got to Susie Toot and her mother, both Sapphira and Hollywood said it was a boot. Hollywood explained that Susie has done a black and white look before, and Sapphira said she has done 3 looks like that before. Sapphira then said that the thing about Susie's makeover that was a real boot for her was that, quote, she didn't have confidence in her mom. She wasn't able to bring that to her mom. And so when her mom was trying, she's looking out here, she's not paying attention to her mom really at all, and it felt like they were really disjointed. Sapphira also said that she didn't feel the connection between Susie and her mother, and sometimes you have to make that connection yourself. But Susie was so in her head, and she knew that she and her mum aren't really like that, and Susie didn't try and make it be like that. Naysha said she felt like Susie went into it already being defeated because she felt like it wasn't going to work. Naysha also said that black and white does not make it family resemblance, and she thinks Susie should have stuck to her usual drag aesthetic, such as flapper, and put her mum in that type of drag, because it would have been more fierce, and it would have been, quote, less campy, costumey. They then watched the judges' critiques, and in particular, the part when Law Roach said that he felt like Susie's runway was high fashion, and it could be on a Paris runway, and it was very comme des garçons. It was obvious that none of them at Roscoe's agreed with that critique, and Naysha said she'd love to know what the others thought of that critique. Sapphira said Law mentioned comme des garçons and, quote, he's the stylist so he knows what the F he's talking about, so she's not going to disagree with that. But she added, quote, I guess fashion and drag don't always mix. For me, it was just a boot. Hollywood said, as she mentioned before, Susie has done this look several times before, and she's surprised Michelle didn't say anything about it, because Michelle is, quote, the queen of saying that someone has worn something similar before and they want to see something else. Naysha then said what she finds funny is that Michelle had said about Susie and her mother that there was a family resemblance, but Naysha said, quote, mind you, it is the same. It is a copy and paste makeup, period. Whereas if you look at Lexi and her mother, the only thing that they changed was the lip. Lexi went with a stronger lip, whereas her mother had a softer lip, but then Michelle said she didn't really see a family resemblance. Sapphira then said, quote, what did you want her to look like is my question. Did you think she was going to look like Lexi? Because she is old, like real old. Host Batty Davis then said that she's not that old, she's only about 60. Sapphira then said, quote, only 60? Oh. And everyone gasped and laughed. Sapphira then went on to say that when Lexi pulled her mother's face back, she took 20 years off her. Naysha said, though, in general, she finds that critique about family resemblance, quote, absurd, and Caramel agreed and said that the judging is inconsistent and it leaves it open to what the judges think and not necessarily what we see as the audience. They then watched the lip sync between the bottom two, which were Jules Sparkles and Anya Nerve. Naysha said she and Hollywood were talking amongst themselves while the lip sync was going on, and they came up with a conspiracy theory as to why they think Jules did not do the reveal under her coat, and that was because they think she knew she was going to be in the bottom, so she wanted to save the reveal for the lip sync, because they said you just know when you're going to be in the bottom. Hollywood agreed and said on her season, during the makeover episode, she knew she was going to be in the bottom because the whole day the producers, quote, weren't as talkative to her and, quote, the energy was off. So that's why Hollywood saved 2 reveals for the lip sync, because she knew she was going to be in the bottom, but she still ended up being eliminated that episode anyway. Sapphira said for her makeover challenge, she knew she was going to be in the bottom the second they told the queens that they had to dance, because Sapphira's costume was just so big she could barely walk in it, let alone dance. Sapphira also said at one point, Sapphira showed her dress to RuPaul, and Ru asked her if she could repurpose the dress, and Sapphira was like, quote, no B word. But Sapphira ended by saying, you know what you're doing and why you're there, and, quote, don't prepare to lip sync, prepare to effing win. They moved on to the Q&A, and one question was whether Sapphira knew that the season 16 finale lip sync was going to be Padam Padam by Kylie Minogue, and Sapphira said, quote, duh, because she obviously prepared for the lip sync. The other part of the question was, did they get a list of songs to choose from for the finale, but Sapphira said no. And the last part of the question was, if you knew it was going to be Padam Padam, and how long in advance did you know the song? Batty said they usually give the queens a list of lip sync songs before the season, but for the finale, do you get all the songs before? Sapphira joked that they don't give you anything, they just give you the lip sync songs as the show goes on. She said that she did know it was going to be Padam Padam, but she can't remember how long in advance they knew, because that happened 2 years ago now, but she said that she was, quote, fully prepared for it. And they all laughed when Sapphira said that, presumably because Sapphira lost the finale lip sync, so the question about whether Sapphira was actually prepared sounded kind of shady, and Sapphira even joked and said, quote, that's some shady ass questioning. Sapphira explained, though, that Padam Padam came out while they were filming Drag Race, so neither Sapphira nor Nymphia Wind knew that song. So when they gave them that song for the finale, apparently both of them were like, quote, oh, that stupid song, because when the finale aired, the song was already a hit in the world, but when they filmed the finale, it wasn't yet a hit. Sapphira also said that when they were down to the top 4, they were all just sitting around chit-chatting because there wasn't much to do, and they'd missed so much of what was happening in the world. And someone, presumably from production, mentioned that the queens didn't know about the OceanGate submarine that went to view the wreck of the Titanic with all the millionaires on board, and it imploded. And the queens had no idea what they were talking about, because the queens don't have access to live TV or the internet during filming. And it was the same for Padam Padam, and none of the queens had heard of the song, so they played the song for the 4 queens, and according to Sapphira, they all said, quote, what the F is this? Turn that off. And everyone laughed. Another question was, how long is the time frame between getting eliminated and then filming What You Packin' with Michelle? Sapphira joked that she never got eliminated, so she doesn't know, but it's different for every season. Naysha said that they do it right afterwards because you're going to be there anyway for the rest of the week to film things like confessionals, and it also has to align with Michelle's schedule. Naysha added that on season 8, which was her original season, that was when What You Packing was still very new, and they just filmed it with Michelle on a couch in Naysha's hotel room, which Naysha said was, quote, really cool and personal, and Michelle even gave Naysha her phone number. But Naysha joked that nowadays, Michelle sits over there and it's about 15 feet between you. An audience member then asked Hollywood if she felt that her elimination was fair, and Hollywood said no. And as part of the answer, Sapphira said she would love it if one time a queen just said, quote, F you to RuPaul and flipped her off and stormed off when they got eliminated because it would be great drama. Naysha said the closest thing that's ever happened as far as she knows is during All Stars 8 when the queens had to choose to eliminate one of the bottom queens. Heidi in Closet really didn't want to do it and she chose Monica Beverly Hills lipstick. But apparently, after Heidi filmed her part of picking the lipstick, she came outside to the production tent where they hold the queens when they go between sets, and she was, quote, bawling crying. Heidi apparently started saying, quote, F this and F all of you for making me do this is effed up. Because the responsibility of having to eliminate one of the queens was weighing on her so much, and she didn't like it, and she ended up quitting the show later on. There was another audience question, which was, would Sapphira and Hollywood do an All-Stars, or would they prefer a regular All-Stars or a Versus the World? Sapphira said yes, she would want to do the OG All-Stars because, quote, I need to win, and everyone laughed. Naysha said everyone thinks Sapphira is incredibly talented and she's very beloved, so Sapphira doesn't really need to win. Sapphira joked that she wants to do it for herself and mainly for her heart but also for her bank account. Sapphira also explained that if she's being completely truthful, something changed within her after she lost season 16 because when you work your hardest and do really well, you expect to win. Sapphira likened it to her generation being told to go to college so you can get a good job, but then, quote, everything fell out from underneath us. But Sapphira said, quote, "Something in my heart broke that day when she found out Nymphia won instead of her, because for the whole of the finale episode, Sapphira really thought she was going to win, especially after her solo number. She was convinced she was going to win. So in order to, quote, mend my heart, Sapphira wants to go back to All Stars and win because it's an ego thing," and everyone clapped and cheered for Sapphira. They also asked Hollywood if she would rather do a US All-Stars, because Hollywood is originally from the US but has lived in Australia for 11 years, or would she rather do a Versus the World? Hollywood said she'd rather do a normal All-Stars because it has more budget and more people watch it. But if she got called for a Versus the World, she would also say yes. And then finally, there's a little bit of tea that happened recently outside of Roscoe's to do with Ariete apparently blocking Dawn, and Mistress says that her beef with Dawn was fake. So you may remember that in a previous one of my Have Your Say videos, I talked about some light drama that had happened recently when Dawn from season 16 appeared on the Sloppy Seconds podcast. Dawn told a story about when she appeared on Mistress's YouTube channel, and Mistress was apparently really late, and they ended up filming Dawn's part between 3 to 5 a.m, and Dawn said as a result she hated the video.
She flies us in a day early, and we're like, "What time?" She's like 6, like something, like whatever. 6 o'clock rolls around. She's like, "We're gonna push back to like 9." And then I think she picks us up around like 9:30 from like 10 until like 3 a.m. And then did mine from like 3:30 until like 5. And so I watched that back and I was like, I hate this video.
After that podcast clip came out, people were tweeting at Mistress, and Mistress eventually talked about it during a live video, and she questioned why Dawn and the podcast hosts would bring up something that they knew would make the fans send hate to Mistress. And Mistress said that she had blocked them, but she didn't specify who she had blocked. Well, shortly after all of this went down, Dawn appeared again on Mistress's channel in a video called Confronting a Liar, Dawn's Evil Elf Revenge, where Dawn put Mistress in elf drag. In the video, according to Mistress and Dawn, all of that Sloppy Seconds drama was fake.
Now, I have to be honest with you. I've been conducting a social experiment. I had an evil little elf girl go and tell a false story on a podcast just to prove my point. Y'all love to talk about me.
Should I tell the real story?
Yeah, tell the one. Not the fake story. Give us the real story.
The real story actually is that I was having so much fun.
Later on in the video, Dawn also said that season 17 contestant Ariete blocked her because there had been some silly, quote, elf drama between them on Twitter. Dawn was also the guest on the pit stop the week that Ariete got eliminated, and Dawn had tweeted a joke about Ariete's elimination and then realised Ariete had blocked her.
Don't put this in. Ariete blocked me on Twitter.
No, we gotta put it in!
And then I checked one day, Ariete the elf has blocked you.
But
we can make up! I don't know what I did to you!
Later in the video, when Dawn's makeover on Mistress was finished, Mistress actually video called Ariete to ask her what she thought of the makeover Dawn had done, but Dawn told her not to call Ariete because she hates Dawn. But we didn't see what happened during the call because it's an exclusive on Mistress's Patreon. And I'll put a link to Mistress's YouTube channel in the description if you want to go check that out. After Mistress and Dawn's second video came out, in the comments as well as online, people couldn't believe that Mistress and Dawn had seemingly faked that drama, and so many people had talked about it, so their plan had worked. But other people questioned whether that really was the truth, or are Mistress and Dawn just trolling everyone even now? And you'll have to make your own mind up about that. But just remember, please do not be hateful, and bear in mind that this is just light-hearted drama and should not be taken too seriously, so please don't send hate to anyone. But I just thought this was an interesting development because I had talked about this apparent drama in a previous video, but it seems that maybe this was actually faked, but who knows for sure. So there you go, there was the Roscoe's recap for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17, Episode 13. Do you think the judging on the makeover episodes is inconsistent? And do you think family resemblance is more important than the outfits? Let me know in the comments. If you'd like to get early access to my videos as well as have your comments featured in my Have Your Say videos and access to the exclusive Patreon chat, please check out my Patreon because it just costs a few dollars a month. It really helps support my channel and it really does make a huge difference to me being able to make these videos. So please check it out and I'll put a link in the description. And I'd just like to say thank you so much to all of my existing Patreon members. Your support really, really does blow me away every single time. I love the community I've built on Patreon, and I love talking to you all on Patreon, so thank you so much for your continued support. It really does mean more than you know. Please make sure you like and comment on my videos because it really helps boost the video in the algorithm and promote it to more people. And please make sure you hit the subscribe button if you liked this video and you want to see more of them. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me again in a future video. Thank you, bye!